If you're not confident, don't pitch and don't try to sell. I like to record and review sales calls if you can, and I would review them myself constantly. And I have a paradigm shift, and I hold up the mirror and I say, what could I have done differently to see different results? My goal is to help you be your safe pair of hands. I want to make you a shit ton of money. I want to make a shit ton of money next to you. I want us all to win. And if I can't win for you, you'll never have me ever ask for a dime. If you're not confident, don't pitch and don't try to sell. This is such a big deal to me. Have integrity. That's why if you pitch every time you talk to somebody, you can't have integrity. I don't understand how you could. No offense. If you can't solve their problem and you're not confident, if you're not Babe Ruth picking your pitches, you're not a fighter pilot who's still alive, who carefully chose his battles that he can always win or she can win, don't pitch. Please don't pitch. That's why your closing rate sucks, because you pitch everybody. Be selective on who and when you pitch. This is where I feel like you really need to understand what your perfect win scenario is. I do really well when I work with companies between 1 million and 3 million, where they already understand the value of marketing, they have ambition for growth, they have systems in place, they have a sales process, so when I bring a lead to them, it's not a black hole, and they're looking for someone to grow with them, not someone to solve an immediate problem, and I don't work with underdeveloped businesses that are in financial distress. That's my perfect ideal win scenario. That's who you pitch to. And you also can lead off with that. And I just want to make sure you understand, my goal on the call today is to see if I can help you. I want to ask you a couple questions to determine. We work with a very specific clientele, usually between this and this, that already have solved these problems, because it's not our job to do that. Like, you can hedge that from the very beginning. Like your old company you work with, you said 2.5 to 5 million, specifically in like 3 different home service industries. They already have their shit together and they're ready to dominate, and they want to collaborate, not just hire someone to handle it, right? That was your win scenario at your old company, right? You got to know that. You don't pitch people who aren't in your win scenario. And guess what? If you do, you're going to regret it later. How many times have you done that? You took someone on because you felt sorry for them. I usually don't do this, but that's not a good thing. Say no. We're defined by what we say no to in life, not what we say yes to. All right, a couple more. I like to record and review sales calls if you can, and I would review them myself constantly. And I have a paradigm shift, and I hold up the mirror and I say, what could I have done differently to see different results? At the end of the day, you have more control than you could ever imagine, and everything that happens on a call is a reflection of something maybe you did or didn't do. So just understand that there's always a way out. But you also have to be comfortable with understanding that not every battle's something you should fight, and you shouldn't pitch everybody, and you need to say no when they don't fit your buy box, right? It's that simple. And then the last one or two, be a doctor, not a salesperson. My last one is I just really want you to take the shift in your mind of I serve people, I don't sell to people. Like, we should be in service. We're helping people with their most prized possession is their business. My goal is to help you be your safe pair of hands. I want to make you a shit ton of money. I want to make a shit ton of money next to you. I want us all to win. And if I can't win for you, you'll never have me ever ask for a dime. But that's what people should be doing. If you do those 24 things, I think you should probably have a 100% close rate increase, not just 30. So that's it. We want to do some FAQs and some questions.
Another 60-minute block right there.
Boom.
So let's take a couple minutes for a couple of questions, and then we'll move on to the next session.
What's next? Wisdom circles. Cool.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is, when you are in a position where you need to basically re-pitch an existing client because your business has changed,
Sure,
and you haven't gotten the results before, but you've got new products and services that can now, how do you approach that?
Well, it depends. So if you're trying to do re-pitch at the same offer at a higher price, there's one way. If you're trying to cross-sell, upsell, whatever, there's another way. Which one do you want? Or both? Okay. First one is when you have to raise your prices, it's all about logical justification, right? I would pre-frame and say, you know what's crazy, Jim? We haven't spoken in about 6 months, it seems. It seems like we're still crushing it for you. Everything's good, copacetic. You know what's crazy? I paid $9 for a dozen eggs last week. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm filling up and it's getting this much money, and my truck takes $200 to fill up for my diesel now. Life is getting expensive. I said, yeah, everything I have is more expensive today than it was. Yeah, me too. Brings me to our next point. It's a pre-frame. We do that all the time. We've already said what? Hello, rapport. We acknowledge we're still doing a good job. Jim is still happy. Now we're talking about the pre-frame, understanding things are more expensive, and say my business is no different. My employees are making more money because of cost of living increases. My software costs are up. My hosting costs are up. Everything is. And that's why I came to you today. where rates are going up by 10%. My advisors told me to raise them by 20. I told them I couldn't do that because I care too much for my customers. Everything in life has gone up about 30%. We're only raising our prices 10%. My only goal here is to continue to offer you amazing service, and I want to try to make that gap up of what I'm charging you and more ROI. I mean, it's just one way to do it. There's 1,000 ways you could probably do that, but that's what I do. I like to pre-frame, right? Another pre-frame is I saw somebody. So we were at the bowling tournament, and there's a reporter there. Nothing special, it's just at a bowling tournament, right? But he had like a string in his mustache. It's right here. And I said, hey, are you the kind of guy that wants me to let you know if you have like toilet paper stuck to your shoe? He's like, yes. I said, you've got like either booger or a string hanging right here. That's a pre-frame, right? It's all about teaching people to receive the information the way you want it to be received. Does that make sense? It's like me saying like, oh, wow, you look fat in that dress. I can actually say it in a way where my wife won't smack the shit out of me. I can pre-frame it. No, he's recording, and my wife never looks fat. We can. I'll send you the video. Like, I can get my daughter to do anything I want when no one else can get her to do it. Like, it's just pre-framing. So whenever you have something you need to do, the goal of pre-framing is to teach people how you want them to receive the information. Rather than text, rather than email, you need face-to-face or verbal or something. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. Does anybody here consider themselves a helpful person? I saw an AG1 container on the sink. Do you guys see that? There's like a little bottle. Who has AG1 here? And can I have like 2 scoops?
I did.
That's you, right? I just pre-framed them. That's what I did. Pre-framing is what I do when I have something I need to pre-frame or reframe. And then the other one, when you want to upsell, my biggest question, I'm looking at myself and saying, like, who else are my customers paying for marketing and how can I have that budget? What problems can I solve for my customers that I'm not already solving? And what I want to do is pre-frame them to have them acknowledge it's an issue, or I want them to bitch and complain to me about the current solution they offer. And then I want to deliver good news. I offer it too. And here's how I'm better and different, and I decommoditize the shit out of it. Yeah, that's how I do it. Cool. Because, by the way, who was it, Terry, that said this? Every other person who's also getting paid by your client is a threat, really. You want to own all of it. Yeah, I'd rather have subcontractors than not have them. I'd rather sub the work out to the guy they just paid and have it go through me. So, yes, sir.
Just real quick, another example that backfired on me. I had 5 clients I really wanted to fire. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to fire them. I'm just going to pre-frame the call and raise the prices like 40%. That'll get rid of them. 4 out of 5 freaking stayed with me.
Yep.
So, yeah, so, kind of have an intention in mind, maybe triple it or whatever, but yeah, it backfired, but they're still a pain in the ass.
Depends on what you're trying to do, though, right? Yeah. Any other questions?
What about the wife on the call?
Oh, yeah.
The wife?
Yeah, with these contractors, if they say, hey, I've got to talk to my wife and she'll be on the call with us or whatever, and she might as well turn into a Rottweiler because she's there to make sure nobody's going to get his money.
Okay, so if I can identify as a waiter, who's paying the bill, who am I going to make sure has great service?
Who's ever paying the bill?
Dad, whoever it is, right? I'm going to make sure Dad, everybody else could be unhappy, Dad's going to leave me a good tip. So one of the biggest things I look for is who am I actually dealing with here? I sold a house to an NFL player once, and I learned really quickly when he didn't show up to the appointment, it was his mother. He was actually playing in the NFL playoffs in Cincinnati, but his mom was the client. He was buying it for his mom. She was my client. I didn't have to appease him. I had to appease her. You got to understand who you're appeasing and make sure you're speaking to them at their level. And then use what Amy was talking about. It's all about, can they logically justify it, yes or no? At the end of the day, that's what it is. And why is she a Rottweiler? Why is she making sure no one takes advantage of him? Because he's been taken advantage of. Pick at that scab. Make it bleed a little bit. Decommoditize yourself. Talk about how you're selective. Talk about your results. Show case studies. Hedge that bet before it comes up. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I notice that I'm showing a house to this one family and all of a sudden everyone's quiet, but this one person seems to be in charge, I'm focusing on them. If I'm talking to 3 partners about coming on as my marketing client, I say, help me understand. Tell me each one of you guys, what do you do? Who's in charge here? I'd say that. Okay, well, he does that. He does that. So you're operations guy. Why are you focused on the marketing? Are you guys like a 3-man team? Is that the whole company? I want to know. I'm just seeking to understand. I'm just trying to help me understand. And they're like, okay, well, interesting. So who makes the actual decision here? I'll ask them. Yeah. Or if you don't get that till to the end, that's when you would ask it up front and say, when it comes to your marketing, your budgets, your bookkeeping, your finances, who handles it? Is that you or somebody else? Oh, my wife. Okay, great. Do you think it makes more sense for me to have a conversation with you when your wife's present? Or is it your decision whether we're moving forward or not? Just like in business acquisitions, you know how hard it is to get an NDA back after a first call? It's almost impossible. I don't even send them anymore or ask for them. You know how hard it is to get a seller to send me financials? Most of the time they don't know what the hell that means. That's why I say, hey, do you have a Miss Flo or an accountant or somebody who handles all your numbers? Yeah, we have Miss Betty. Okay, great. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm not much of a numbers guy myself, but we are going to need to see financials, profit and loss statements specifically. Can we just connect Miss Betty with my Miss Betty and let them talk directly? I'm removing resistance because I know it's happening. I know it's going to happen. So yeah, that's what I do.